when men think it's easier for women to grow their business on social media because they can just show off their looks. Yeah. So they can just grab attention via their looks, which is a huge misconception. Even if that's happening, it's because of the men only.
This is the first time that I'm telling this story.
Hello there, and welcome to Whips and Chains.
An individual can be sold innumerable times.
What are the whips that we flog ourselves with often?
I discovered cancer, I had breast cancer.
And what are the chains that bind us down?
फिर मैंने YouTube पे देखा कि फीमेल फिटिसाइड होता कैसे
Is something I want to explore in my show.
They're orphans.
It's okay. It's okay.
गर्दन निकलती है बाकी हिस्सा ऐसे ऐसे करके निकलता है यार इतना बड़ा पाप होता अपने गांव में
It's horrific.
Somebody passed me by and hit my bum.
He did have a personality disorder.
कई बार मैं सो ही नहीं सका
All the traffickers that I've seen, they are common people like you and me.
She said, Kanda tu dein, vata putar tu.
If you talk about human trafficking, it's $1 billion business.
There was a lot of violence, a lot of aggression.
बड़े बड़े पुल बना दोगे उनसे ह्यूमैनिटी तो नहीं बनने वाली
And welcome to Whips and Chains. Hello there, and welcome to Whips and Chains, the show where we create a safe space to talk about all the difficult things that society asks us to shush. Today, I'm very happy to have with me Yashita and Megha, two very enterprising young women entrepreneurs who are going to tell me about their journey and their evolution as young women trying to run a business in a very misogynist India. So, welcome, Yashita, and very happy to have you, Megha.
Thank you so much.
And it's really very exciting for me to see, young women who are doing so well and who are so clear-headed about what they want to do and how they want to do it. So, we will start right from the very beginning. And so let's start with your childhood. Tell me a bit.
Childhood.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think I grew up in a very happy-go-lucky family. We are a nuclear family. Me, my brother, younger brother, and my parents. Initially, we lived with our grandparents, but then no more. I've been born and brought up in Delhi. My parents are initially from Haryana. So I think they do bring a lot of their mindsets from their ancestral places. So I have been brought up in sort of a strict household. So basically, not a lot of freedom were given to the girls or the women in the family. Not a lot of them used to go out a lot. Not dating was a taboo altogether, right? So I've had that rebellious teenage sort of a life, which I grew up at home fighting with my mother to go out every instance. Yeah.
Okay. And what about you, Megha?
Similarly, I was also born and brought up in a full-fledged family with my grandparents, my parents. I have an older brother. However, the whole family had, I wouldn't call them stereotype, but most of my family have been known to be very good in academics. So there was always this pressure. My dadaji was NIS, and my grandmom was a PhD of her times. My father an attorney, my older brother an attorney. So there always have been a pressure of of performance, of doing good, and probably choosing a career which is also similar to maybe an IS or a medical field or an attorney, and which I totally did not get into here in the startup industry.
Yeah. So, when you were young, tell me some of the, when you're growing up as a child, what were the kind of role models that were conveyed to you for women? That how should a woman be, or growing up? What did your parents teach you to aspire to?
I think growing up, my parents themselves didn't have a lot of education. They're both like school pass outs. So my father runs his own business and we are doing well, touch wood. So I think my parents really wanted me to study really well. So that was one of the aims that they were aiming for me. Okay, you should either do engineering or you should be a CA or something like that so that you can do well in the future. I think that was the whole idea, and the overall values aspiration that okay, in terms of family values and all of that, always the mother. That you should always be like your mother. The things that you're being taught inside the family, you should follow those values. The way the culture goes and how we are uh, upbringing, the whole upbringing. I think that was all that we were taught to do. So the overall role model would be my mother herself.
And what about you?
Well, I think I have been pretty lucky since I've mentioned my grandmom was a
Yeah.
PhD of her times, and during her times, she was married at a very early age. I think it was probably 10 maybe, because
Wow.
these folks were born
Yes.
before independence, and
Right.
they were like child marriages and other thing. And there was a thing for women of being in the family, looking after the kids. But I think my grandfather had been a man who was always ahead of his times, and he made sure that my grandmom not just completes her college, but her
PhD.
PhD,
Oh, that's so
and
good.
become a professor of literature later, a head of the department who actually wrote her books. So I think that has been quite inspiring for me. But I also saw that there was always a certain kind of expectations from women of balancing things, which has been in case of my grandmom, because she was not only a great career woman, but she was also great at her responsibilities towards her family. So that has been an ideal for me, like definitely a role model.
So, in terms of your own, dream or aspiration as a child, what was it growing up? Or who inspired you? What was it that
Yeah.
you
I think
thought of?
personally for myself, growing up, I was always a creative child. So, like, I had colors and paints lying around the house all the time, even when my mom scolded me for it because she was like, you should focus more on studies rather than in painting and all of that. But I was always a creative child. In school, I was always in all the extracurriculars and all the competitions and all of that. Some role models would be the art teachers in school or some painters maybe I looked up to at that time, but just initially totally into creativity, and that's what I wanted to go towards. I think towards my high school, when I was stepping into high school, my parents decided for me, or I don't know, made a decision with me that I should pursue non-medical, so science, so that I can have a better career. So maybe an
Okay.
engineer or like a CA or something similar. I think we did like a call with someone who is very well educated in our family, and they were like, yeah, go for non-medical. That's the best route. You'll have plenty of options after that, right? But in my head, I knew I'm not a studious person. Although I did score well enough marks, but I wasn't a studious person. I wanted to go into something creative. So I think that's when I pushed them after I had opted for science that, okay, I will study this, but after school, I'm not going to pursue it further. So I had to make them understand. There were a lot of, talks in the house. And that's how they eventually understood that, okay, if she wants to do what she's going to do.
Yeah.
And then I was able to pursue a creative career.
And what about you?
Okay, so I have been fancy, like in the sense that I love music, I love dancing, and I love this whole glamour part. So Rihanna, J Lo, Beyonce, talk about them, the whole
Yeah.
energy, the vibe. So I'm not in that industry now, but now, or I mean, if I had a chance, I would have. But I think the whole journey paved the way towards entrepreneurship. But I still pursue these hobbies outside. Like I dance. I'm very much a fitness freak. I do my workouts. I swim. I'm a swimmer, of course. I love that.
Yeah.
So
And you're also into martial arts, right?
yes, because I think it's so important for women to know self defense and kick some asses definitely if it's needed. So yes, I totally do that as
Yeah.
well.
So when you were young, Megha, you used to sing and perform. Is there a time that you kind of said that I would like to be a performer and your family supported you or pulled you back? Is there ever any sort of indication of, of that?
Sure. See, the thing is that in India, maybe sometimes these professions are not seen as very respectful, because maybe because of the industry norms or the kind of struggles these women go under. So yeah, but in my family, I have been a performer. Like, I remember not
You are.
only in
You are a performer.
yeah, in school, they always encouraged me in my school, in outside school, in the classes, and even at home. When there is a family get together, how kids would like to just
Yeah.
give some act. But I never mentioned this in front of my family, because deep down I knew that there are certain expectations out of me. And we India is a land of culture. I'm not saying that my family is old fashioned, even though old fashioned is not bad sometimes when it talks about your tradition and cultures. But I personally feel that if I would have talked about it to my parents, I'm really not sure what would have been their response. But I did not do that, because deep down we as kids already know our family, and
Yes.
so maybe I was
You
not
know
very
the boundaries.
boundaries.
And,
Yes.
and somehow I think women are very subliminally, the message is conveyed to them in, ye theek nahi hai.
And also, Nivedita, even now, as an entrepreneur now who runs her own agency, now I also feel there's a stereotype in the industry of how a woman should dress or conduct herself, or she's not allowed to look like a model.
Yes.
If you are in
Yes.
the industry, probably. And
Yes.
if, like, for example, sometimes if I really like to take care of myself, and some people, and I have been asked so much about, would you want to go for this shoot, are you modeling? And
Yes.
I said, no, I'm not. And who says that entrepreneurs cannot
Cannot
look like
look,
models?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where's the rule? Yeah.
Where's the rule? Exactly.
Where's the rule? And also, I think there is a stereotype against women that if you are serious about your work, then you cannot be serious about your appearance.
Yeah, exactly.
there is-
I
there
think that
is-
goes hand in hand.
Right?
Yes,
So
totally.
you have to look a certain way to be taken seriously. Attractive, but not too attractive.
I know.
And certainly your sexuality must be very, very repressed.
Yeah. For sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so today I'm wearing this Ted Baker dress, and
Wow.
before coming to the studio, I was thinking, what should I wear? I mean, should I just go for a proper, a sober trouser, or maybe a
very
shirt?
good. Yeah.
But then I said, oh, let's be vibrant. It's a
Yes.
show of Nivedita, and I love her style already. So just let's go wild about it.
Very good. Very good. I'm glad you thought that, because this is really the place where, you need to be able to express yourself freely and represent exactly who you are and how you are.
Right.
So, okay. So, what I found in my evolution, when I was, a teenager and then, a young woman, that women get categorized in terms of how they are viewed as either the virgin or the whore or the mother, right?
Yeah.
So there are these three distinct categories that, the male lens or the patriarchal lens views you through. So, when you are virgin, you're highly sort of desirable, but then the standards that you are held to are extremely high.
Yeah.
Okay, they are sort of, so there are certain things you can do. So all the Rakhi sisters kind of fall in that category, and you're desirable but not accessible, right? When you are whore, then you are open for all kinds of, sort of access and also assault.
Yeah.
And there is a message that you are asking for it.
Yeah.
When you become the mother, then you are no longer desirable. You are accessible, but you become a nag,
Oh, gosh.
right?
Mhm.
So, where have you also encountered these kind of stereotypes, and what do you feel about, what has your experience been with them?
I think there has been a few when we step into the online dating world, I think. So there has been a lot of ups and downs when we try to traverse through the online dating world. There are a lot of men who are just hoping to, get laid. And
Yes.
then there might be a few who might be genuine, who might be looking for something nice. I have tried a few things here and there, but none of the times have I found something which is nice, which is meaningful. I always end up, going off of it because of this, I think, conception that has been created that, okay, dating apps are just for having sex. Okay, so only, women who are looking for sex are going on dating apps, right?
Yeah. So this is a misconception.
Yeah,
Because that
exactly.
is not true.
Exactly.
That you're just using dating apps to look for sex.
Exactly.
Right?
I have had friends who have actually found really good relationships and are now actually getting married to those men who they found on dating apps, and they have had fulfilling relationships with those men. So I aspire to find someone
find someone.
similarly, but whenever I go on there, it's just disgusting men on there. It's just disgusting, absolutely.
What about you?
Well, Nivedita, good question though. I liked how you framed it. See, there always have been a stereotype, and regardless of your place, position, or age in the society, women have always faced these kind of trouble. I'll take example of workplace. Sometimes you are over friendly. Sometimes you are too proud, you are arrogant, or have an attitude if you have boundaries. So there is no certain answer to me to this. According to me, I personally feel that yes. As women we always feel and face these kind of prejudice, bias, and circumstances, but I feel that it has to do with a person's mentality. Like I always tell this to myself that it's your problem, dude. It's not my problem. If you think I am talking to you nicely and this is very inviting for you, then that there is something really really wrong with the kind of mindset you are carrying. And it does happen at workplace also, because as women entrepreneurs, as the CEOs, we are in the position of leadership. We have to go there, embrace leadership, talk about work, and maybe sometimes go to places which is very much reserved for
Men.
men.
Male
Yeah.
dominated, yeah.
So there's this whole male stereotype, a whole male tribe mentality, and when a woman is seen doing all these things, then like Nivedita captioned rightly, that they are labeled as available, or
Yeah.
or maybe someone is
Yeah.
easily accessible probably, and they can
Yes.
have a chance with them. And when it comes to that, it doesn't matter whether you are dealing with a man who is much older than you, or your age, or younger, or maybe married or not. People just go for that. So I
Yeah.
think that's very unfortunate.
So, can you tell me something, some kinds of incidents that have happened? Can you recount something where you really felt that, in the space of entrepreneurship, this is really unfortunate that this kind of sexist,
Yeah.
episode?
Yeah, I think I have had a couple encounters with like my male clients. So I have had to work with like male and female clients. I work remotely. So all of my dealings are via virtual meetings
And
or
you
calls.
actually do brand design,
Yes,
right? So
exactly. I'm a
yeah.
brand designer. So I
Yeah.
do brand identity design work and packaging design work for brands. So basically, I think I've had one encounter in which the person on the other end is a guy who's running a very well known brand or whatever, but they don't see me as an expert or as a professional. They just see me as another person working for them or as an employee. I'm not given the equal amount of respect they would give to someone else, maybe a guy who's working for them. So I've had been treated really badly by that person. So there has been like, okay, I'm on a call with them, and then they'll just be talking over me to someone else. Okay, just bring me the food. I'm very hungry.
Yeah.
So I'm on the other end waiting
Yeah.
that, okay,
Right.
you have called me, and they'll call me any time of the day. I have my working hours,
Yes.
I have specified everything. They won't respect that. They won't respect the terms of the work that we have discussed or any of it. And at the end of the day, if I refuse that, okay, I am not comfortable with this, let's just end this here, and I'll recommend you to other people who can help you out to finish the work. Then they're like, it's not fair. You are
Yeah.
being unfair to me. You are not providing the service and all of that.
Hmm.
When the fault is at their end as well, like a huge
So
fault.
there is this narrative of trying to place all the blame on the woman
Exactly.
who's actually doing the job.
Exactly.
And so,
And I think there is the most annoying thing is the respect factor, that we don't get the equal respect that we actually command that okay, I am at a position that I'm providing a service that an expert provides, right? So
Right.
I'm helping you build your brand, so you should be communicating with me with the same respect that you communicate with your other male peers.
Yeah.
But we don't get that in some cases, so
Yeah.
that's unfortunate, I think.
What about you, Megha? What do you feel
So,
about this?
sure. See, power, money, and position is sometimes get tricky when men exploit,
Yeah.
the resources they have. And I think during my entire career, and even now it happens, men use these as baits. They like to show you a lot of favor. They like to, and this is how they approach you, that, okay, I can get this for you, I can do this for you. But now I know, because I understand these men and their intentions behind it, that these are just baits, and probably their intentions are entirely something else.
Yeah.
So I think as women, we have to be very much alert about these things, and maybe find our own voice, convey our, it's so important to communicate your value,
Exactly.
and build strong relationships that are beyond these kind of superficial offers, and
Exactly.
find right people. I'm not saying that the whole industry is full of those kind of people. Of course, I have made great people, mentors, colleagues, who have been so nice. I can just I know that if even if it's late at night, they can drop me home and I'll be safe with them. But yes, like you said, there are a lot of men otherwise who would like to take advantage of, just because you're young and in the industry you're keen to grow, which I feel is highly unethical.
So, what is the thing in you that decided to transition? Because I know you were working earlier.
Yeah.
Both of you were working, in fact.
Yeah.
And you decided to make this transition from a regular job to
Yeah.
entrepreneurship. So, what was that turning point?
I think when I got into this creative side of things, I always knew that while I would be in the job, the pay would be limited. So I think that was one of the factors that I always wanted to scale higher. I always had this entrepreneurship aspiration that, okay, I want to do something big. Maybe it was to prove to my family, maybe it was to prove to myself, but I just wanted to do really well and make a name for myself. So while I was working in the same company for about 3 years, I had learned a lot. I cherished the time I had there. I realized that, okay, now is the time that I can step out. It was really, really difficult to make that decision because parents initially weren't very supportive. They were like, you're working from
Obviously,
home,
yes.
you're comfortable. Why do you need to quit the job? You're getting a monthly salary. Why do you need to take the risk? Because then the, pay would be very
Yes,
inconsistent.
yes.
It won't be predictable. So I was like, no, I got to do it. I think about it every year. I think about it every month that, okay, should I do it now? Should I do it now? And there's always one or the other factors. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm getting a raise. Oh, I'm, going to go on this, or I
Yeah.
got to do this project. But then I eventually decided this is it. And I went ahead and I quit it. The initial months were really hard, trying to prove to my parents that this is the right decision while I'm working from home, living under their roof, right? And then eventually it took up, it went well, and I think I'm doing well now.
Okay. And you, Megha, what
Yeah,
about?
sure. I have been very lucky to land some great jobs. I've worked with brands like HSBC Premier, Citibank, Ministry of Finance, Accenture Management Consulting, even though for short span of time, because I wanted to, make my own mistakes and learn from them. I wanted to take risk. I wanted to see what I can do rather than working for someone else. I wanted to work for my own dreams, because I knew somewhere that I have those potential that, and I can do something great. And even if I'm not able to go there, at least I wouldn't be having any regrets that I have not tried. And I think that has been a major turning point for me. And while working, while these brands were great, it's always an entrepreneur who makes another entrepreneur.
Exactly.
And while networking, I met some of the amazing entrepreneurs, fellow founders. And like last year also, I visited IIM campus in Ahmedabad, and that was again another turning point. The kind of dedication, the kind of passion I've seen in those founders, the kind of products they were building, and the whole motivation. I really decided that I should just take my my bags and maybe shift here because I just wanted to be around them.
Yeah.
But then I thought, okay, let me go back to Delhi and maybe bring this energy there. And that's when I started working with Ichai. And the whole year, there was no looking back. We did events, we did workshop meetups with these founders every week. Talk about D2C, fintech, SaaS, you name this industry, we did that.
Okay,
It was
that's great.
wonderful.
So while you girls made this transition at this very, critical age and stage where the dominant narrative in society and particularly the family is always shadi karo, all of
Yeah.
that.
Trust me.
So how did you combat that, and what's your take on that chapter of your life?
Oh man, this is going to take
Yeah.
a lot, but I think this has been a very, very ongoing thing in my family in particular. I think we come from like a banya background, so we have this sort of a arranged marriage thing already set inside our family. So forget dating, forget finding love for yourself. It has to be a banya boy that you will marry, right? So my parents give me this much liberty that okay, you tell us when do you want to get married, right? So my mom got married at 21, right? My other sisters or cousins, they are getting married at 23, 22. So they asked me, okay, this is the time you should be getting
Yeah.
married at this time. So I told them, no, I want to focus on my career, I want to build my business first, and then so they eventually decided, okay, we'll, give you some time, you take your time, just tell us when you are ready, but you have to tell us right now that,
No.
okay, by this
By this
time,
time.
I'll be ready. Which is sort of, I think, not fair in
Yeah.
some sense. How will I
How
tell
can
you
you
right
tell
now?
now?
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. So I was given a timeline of 25 that, okay,
Okay.
when you turn 25, that's when we'll start looking for boys for you.
Ah.
By then, you go do your career, go
Ah.
focus on your career and
Ah.
build your business and all
Ah,
of that. So
ah.
that was one of the things, yeah.
Okay, but then meanwhile they did also try to introduce you to
Not
guys.
yet, not
Okay.
yet. I'm 24. We
Huh.
have had some difficult conversations that, okay, should we, start? And it's not just my family, it's the extended family as
Yes,
well, right?
yes.
Your bua is saying, or your tauji is saying that it's
Yeah,
time,
it's
or
time,
your
it's
nanaji
time.
is saying it's time. I'm like, why do they even care? It's me, my life, and my marriage,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
I understand why my parents would care, but why
Yeah,
would they care? But
yeah.
it's all in the
Yeah.
mix.
Yeah,
So,
somehow like a woman's virtue and a woman's sort of the productivity of her body becomes the domain of everybody.
Exactly.
Right? So what about you, Megha?
So,
What's been your
yeah,
experience?
so there has been a stereotype in India that a woman has to be married by a certain age, by she definitely has a childbearing age, and by this age she should be a mother and maybe a grandmother and whatnot. And of course, marriage is a hot topic. Definitely, I think it's in every household. So I have friends from different part of the world since I've traveled a lot, and I'm of course been outside, and there's hardly any concept of arranged marriage there.
Yeah.
Like they don't understand and relate to it. How can you decide on
Decide.
choosing a life partner by someone arranging it for you, like a
Right,
contract or
yeah.
a deal, or like
Yeah.
it's not that easy as like signing an MOU.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so see, but yes, my family have been pretty supportive about it, and so I wouldn't be able to exactly say how it feels for girls who are maybe pressurized for it. My family is cool with it. They
But then
understand.
there is also one is the external narrative of family and society,
Yeah.
but there's also an internal narrative that women have, right?
Yeah.
Which
'Cause
is
this
the
is
body
a-
clock, the time.
Yeah.
Do I want to have kids at all? Do I want do I want a regular relationship and a romantic life? All of that, right?
Yeah.
Because unfortunately those
Yeah.
years, I think 20 to 35, every woman is either being asked those questions
Yeah.
or thinking them for herself.
Yeah,
Isn't
exactly.
it?
I think
Yeah.
that has been one thing that has been going on in my head for the past couple years as well. That, okay, maybe I should find a guy myself. Maybe I should start dating, and maybe I'll find someone decent who my parents like as well, right? So it could work out. But then this timeline keeps hitting me that, okay, but I need to be married by 25. So
Right.
when will I find the guy? When will I
Right.
start dating? When will I
Sure.
marry
I
him?
think
So that whole thing plays in loop.
Yeah, personally for me, I don't think I would want to be changed in that kind of stereotype. I think when the time is right, when the person is right, and your values are aligned, and you can be an accelerator to each other's growth rather than pulling each other
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel that's when you know. And I think what we are doing currently is building something, and we are building a career, we are building a life of our own, and it is so important to choose a partner who has similar kind of because that's the whole idea of having a
Exactly.
life partner. You can go in
Right.
together and push each other for growth. So I really don't know when it's gonna happen, but I think when it will happen, I will let you know and maybe invite you over for sure. So let's see.
So, yeah. So, in this whole script of, the permissions that society gives to women and the permissions that we give ourselves or we don't give ourselves. Like in my generation and in yours, there has been a change, right? I
For
mean,
sure.
when I see like my mother's generation, my generation, and then, now my daughter. So, of course, women have started giving themselves a lot more permission and a lot more flexibility in how they see themselves mentally. But somehow the men have not done that, right? Yeah. So, how do you see yourself in the next 10 years or whatever, as your business grows, as you evolve as a woman? What would you hope that changes in the psyche of men to facilitate you?
I think the best change that we do need, which is not often seen, I have not seen it in our families or even the new couples or people who are, getting married or stuff like that, is the equal responsibilities being shared. So,
Right.
equal responsibilities being shared at home. Shared work wise, so the females are also working and the males are also helping at home at all of the work, and everything is half and half. It goes hand in hand with each other. They're
Right.
supporting each other and
Right.
growing with each other. I think that is something that I would want to have that change in every part. I think some parts there has been. So if you will see, if we talk about Delhi, in the South Delhi area or in the Gurgaon area, I think that is very prominent, that people are very open and very supportive. But towards the area in which I am living, North Delhi, or if we talk about East Delhi, there are still a lot of families in which women are just sitting at home or maybe working from home and handling all the house responsibilities as well, handling the kids as well, while the men, just have to do their work.
So I think in COVID, Megha,
Yeah.
a lot of things that were not highlighted so
Yeah.
much came
Yeah.
up.
Yes.
So the men also, because everyone was at home, the men also saw from their own experience the amount of hard work that is just piled on the women, the invisible labor. They did also contribute over
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
But I think, the narratives, even post COVID, now how, everything has sort of gone back to normal and we are all kind of, everyone's forgetting about COVID. I think the lessons learned have also been forgotten, right?
Exactly. And I personally feel, Nivedita, by the way, it's a wonderful question. Uh, Down the line, 10 years, 20 years, or for the rest of my life, I mean, the one change I would really want to see is, removing all the barriers of the stereotype. Conditioning we have in our society, like men are not supposed to cry, or men are not supposed to be vulnerable, or men are not affected. Oh, come on, you're a guy, it's okay. I mean, you stop crying like a girl. Or people try to make them feel like, oh, you're too women or feminine if
Yeah.
you are expressive, or if you are going to be vulnerable, or even if you choose to be a homemaker. Oh, come on, that is the role that is given to women. Maybe sometimes, during our, like, COVID was an example, in our entire growth of growth years, our journey, things go up and down. Sometimes it's the women who will take the hit, sometimes it's the men who will probably lose their job. And it's so, I think it should be okay for their partners to work meanwhile they find what they want to do in their life. And meanwhile, if they are the one taking care of the children, or maybe cooking, or maybe taking care of the house, it should be normalized rather than laughing at them that, hey, what is this now, ye to bahut hi, this is a very
Yeah.
women oriented thing. So I think I would want to see that kind of equality in India. I think especially it's already there in Western
Yeah.
countries, and I really appreciate that, but in India we have still a far journey to cover for that. So that is the one change I would want to see.
And also, I think there is still a certain hypocrisy in our society which still sort of promotes different standards for men and
Yeah.
different standards for women,
Yeah.
because when you talk about a man's qualities and qualifications, you're still talking in terms of career, position, how much they are
Yes.
earning or
Yes.
whatever. But when you're talking about a woman's identity, you're still talking in terms of appearance. You're
Her
still
looks.
talking in
Yes.
terms of her domestic capabilities,
And her values, her
or her
family
values,
values.
and,
Yeah.
Right.
and all of that. So somewhere the burden of the so-called family values
Yeah.
needs to shift in society,
Yeah, for
so
sure.
that there's a more equitable
Exactly.
ecosystem, right? So what, if you had to, what would be your message to a generation, uh, say your parents' generation, who are also hopefully watching the show, to figure
Yeah.
out what the younger generation is thinking?
Yes.
So, what would be your message to them in terms of the kind of pressure that they put their children through?
I think there has been a lot of pressure as well, but they have been aligned in that sort of way because of their upbringing, right? So changing it all together, breaking it all together at once is very difficult for them as well. But they should be open to understanding and adapting slowly. So basically, sitting with their child or sitting with their children and trying to understand what they're going through, their problems, or just day to day as well. How was your day, or all of that, and just being a part of it without being judgmental about it, and without imposing stuff over it, that okay, you should not be doing that, or you should not be going out unless until they're doing something wrong. That's of course there, but I think the control thing has to stop somewhere. Trying to control their lives in the narrative that they want to live, or maybe in the narrative that they want their children to live in.
What do you say, Megha?
Yeah, I think the biggest win for parents is when their child is able to communicate what they feel without any fear, without any judgment, and when they can be really friends with you. Because after a particular age, children and parent, their relationship actually gets complicated because of this preconceived notion of society and so many other factors. And I think once you cross that barrier and become friends with your child, and if your child is feeling safe to discuss
Yeah.
whether it's a conversation about choosing a career, or maybe coming out about your sexuality, or maybe any decision of their life without any fear or judgment, I think that is the greatest message. And also, I'm not a parent yet, but I personally feel that whenever you have to parent your child, maybe in future of course, it's so important to teach your boy and girl to have similar values, similar ethics, similar kind of responsibility, so that in future they become an asset, not a liability to
In
any
any
other
way?
Yeah.
person.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So it's basically more conversations, less control, right?
Exactly.
Because your parents' generation and even my generation grew up with so much control, and there was no conversations at all.
Exactly.
True.
Building that
So
safe space
say,
is
yeah,
important. Yeah.
absolutely. And what would you say to children? Because while it's very easy to criticize the older
parents.
Yeah,
generation,
of course.
there is a certain truth in the criticism
Of
that
course.
the next generation and the younger generation is also hugely more entitled.
Yeah.
They have absolutely no fears.
Yeah.
And while that is a great thing, but a certain amount of healthy fear
Is
also
important.
teaches you how much to push and no further. So you learn also within that
Yeah.
environment of feeling just a little bit, okay, I have to do this.
Yeah.
So that whip of being disciplined
Yeah.
within a certain
Yeah.
thing is also something the younger generation doesn't really have. So what would your advice be?
I
cultivate that?
I think to children, the top advice would be to look at things from their parents' perspective as well. Where are they coming from? Try to understand that. They might be restricting you because they are worried. They might be restricting you because they're trying to protect you. It might not be because, they
Yeah.
just want to bully you, or
Yeah.
they don't want you to have fun, or they don't want
Yeah.
you to go out.
Right.
It just might be out of love, out of protection, out of your safe well-being and all of that. So they should try to see things from their perspective as well, and try to reassure them in the best way possible.
Yeah, so advice for children. I think there's a thin line between fear and respect. So, more than fear, I think instead of fearing the parents, you should respect them enough to trust them, which is the second factor, trust. If you can take that leap of faith and trust your parents and have that relationship with them, you would know that sometimes the decisions they are taking for you, maybe for your own good, which maybe you are not able to see right now, but maybe if you look at the bigger picture. So I think that kind of respect and trust is everything. Once these two factors are there, I don't think there is any stopping to that in for a beautiful relationship.
I think that brings us back to that point I think we've all had in our lives, when our mom will be like, I don't like that friend of yours. They don't give me the good vibe. But you're like, why is she not liking my friend? I love my friend. They are great and all of that. And eventually you find out, okay, she was right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We've
It
all
has
had that
happened.
moment
Yeah,
in our
right.
lives,
Absolutely.
right?
Right.
So we find that out eventually. So I
Yeah.
think we should try to look at things from their
I
perspective.
should have
as well.
listened to
Yeah, I should have
you. You
listened
were
to you.
right.
It's a told you so
We have our
moment sort of a
stop
thing.
moments
Yeah,
and all that.
exactly.
Yeah, correct.
So, in the age of social media and in the age of entrepreneurship, in the age of social media, as young women, there is this whole question of what is personal, what is public, and what is professional, right? So there are the three P's. So how do you negotiate the three P's, and what is your mantra for, okay, this is how I function?
I think personally, social media has been the only game changer for my business. I have grown my whole business via Instagram itself from the beginning of the year. I was nowhere around in December or November last year, but being on Instagram and presenting my work online, presenting myself online, building a personal brand has helped me a lot, like to grow my business overall. So the whole idea, I have been often debating it inside my head. Okay, how much should I be sharing? Or should I be sharing
Yes.
this much, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm posting a picture of my morning coffee. Okay, I'm posting where I'm heading right now. Is it safe enough? Is it cool enough? Before, posting a
Yes.
screenshot of a chat, we're hiding the number, will
Yes.
people insistently start calling
Yeah.
us? You know,
Yeah.
if I'm working from home, I'm not, I don't find it safe to put my home address on my website,
Of
right?
course.
That, okay, this is where the official address of the business is, although it is the same place, right? So there are a lot of things we have to keep in mind. And then in the social media space, there is always that parity as well. When men think it's easier for women to grow their business on social media as compared to men, because they can just show off their looks.
yeah.
So they can just grab attention via their looks, which is a huge misconception. Or
Absolutely.
even if that's happening, it's because of the men only. Right? So
Right.
why are we getting the views? It's
Yeah.
because the men are
Men
watching
are
those
watching,
videos.
yeah,
Exactly,
right.
right? So I'll hear this a lot. Okay, she's just dancing in front of the camera for her reels, and now she's an influencer and she's earning,
Yeah.
thousands or whatever, in lakhs she's earning. So I'm like, why don't you dance then? Why are you ridiculing her? Why are you trying to make fun of her? Why don't you give it a shot? Why don't you try? There's so many men who are already doing it.
Yeah.
They're doing so well in their career,
Right.
and they've earned a lot. So why are you trying to be judgmental over her? Why are you trying to ridicule
Yeah,
her?
her.
Just give it a shot yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's there always.
So what do you feel, Megha?
See, in the age of social media, your social imprints are everywhere. It's becoming harder day by day to keep your privacy intact. Even the celebrities are not,
Yeah,
safe from it. It just take one video just take, someone to record one clip of yours and make it viral. If you're
Exactly.
having, let's say, a party or maybe a vulnerable moment. So I think it's very important to keep a balance. What I have been doing for myself is, I understood that I have to position myself as an entrepreneur on social media. So I have been working on my social media accounts, as accordingly that ways. But I feel, when it comes about privacy, I would want to be a private person. I would not want my private conversation to go all over social media, because then you feel
Yeah.
breached.
Yeah.
You feel that you're
Violated.
your privacy is violated. So I think this is one request I will have from people also, to have that kind of mindset. When someone is saying leave them be, you should totally leave them be, even though it's not really viable so
Yeah.
much at
Yeah.
most of the time. But I think, personal, professional, and public, you say, one should definitely know how to conduct themselves when you are in a public space. Of course, you can totally control what is in your hand, not
Exactly.
what is not. So rather than focusing on what I cannot do or what other people are going to do, I would focus on what things I can do. Personally, yes, I love to have a non-negotiable time with my family. I like to, work on myself, my own personal growth. And professionally, I knew that, okay, if I have to appear somewhere or go as for my meetings, there is a certain way I have to conduct myself. And of course, on social media also, you have to take care of certain things.
So, as far as coming to the end of our thing, I wanted to just ask about this big issue of mental health. Now being a big concern among a lot of young people, and particularly in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, where there are no fixed, um, you know, the expectations are also wobbly, the deliverables are also wobbly,
Right.
and there's a lot more going on internally than probably that is visible externally,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
So what do you feel contributes, or what are the factors that contribute to maintaining a good mental health internally and keeping yourself sane?
I think
Okay.
entrepreneurship overall is a very lonely journey, and especially I personally, for me, it has been lonely because I started off working from home, so I don't have colleagues around me, I don't have people around me. So channeling via social media, building my own circles, building my own group of powerful women who are doing the same thing, or connecting with other people has been really really helpful. And at the same time, I think everyone should be in therapy because I think that helps a lot. So getting into therapy if you are an entrepreneur, or just having a mindset coach or a business coach, which I have recently jumped into. So basically we work on business mindset and entrepreneurial mindset a lot. So what is the way we should be thinking, how should we be, the whole mindset, how it should work, how should we should function. That helps a lot. Building your own schedules and working on your own time, not working around the clock, all of that I think contributes to having a better mental
Yeah,
health.
in fact, I think a lot of people are now getting into the coaching practice
Yeah.
and being business coaches, right?
Exactly,
Right.
yeah.
So, what is your take on this,
See,
Megha?
my take on this is, Nivedita, entrepreneurs are leaders. And while we lead in our workspace, while we lead in all the other area of professionalism, I think it's so important to lead, and keep your mind, body, and soul in sync, because it's the mental health which is everything. We are getting burnt out very easily because there's a constant pressure of meeting the deadlines, of expecting, of fulfilling all the expectations. And it's very natural to go insane in this whole insane industry where
Yeah.
everyone is like having this race and being so competitive. There's a cutthroat competition. So for what has worked for me personally is, I meditate every day in the morning without fail. And I think meditation is a way to go about it. Also try to keep yourself moving, because entrepreneurship sometimes get very sedentary.
Yeah.
And we do not because again, the stereotype, entrepreneurs
Yeah.
are nerdies, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can be unfit, you don't have to look that good. I think you have to look good, not for others but for yourself, to
Yeah.
feel good. To feel good in your skin, it's so important. And So meditate for me. Swimming also work as meditate. I end my day by swimming. It's like unwinding myself, and under the water I feel so good. It's like connect. When you work out, you connect with yourself. So it's so important to find time for working out. You can even use those stretches in between your
Yeah,
work
routine, yeah.
meetings
Yeah.
and routine. Besides, also take care of your diet, because what you are, what you eat.
Yeah.
So, have a clean diet. It's not that we don't have slides or slip offs. We do, definitely, but it's important to have a check on what you are eating, what you are putting inside that body of yours. And if there is anything, I think rather than suppressing it, talk about it and try to sort it out, whether with a family member or a therapist or a friend. That is your choice and your comfort level.
Yeah.
But I feel it's so important to communicate, especially for male entrepreneurs, because as women, we are very
More
much
conscious.
we are
Yeah.
more
We are more
confident
conscious
also in
also.
talking our thoughts with other women. Men are not. Men are supposed to be in a particular frame
Yeah.
of this
Men
is how they
don't-
are
yeah,
they're
men don't
defined.
engage,
So I
yeah.
think it is so important of men are not to burn themselves, to talk things out and take a break when you think you're burning out. Take a break. It's okay to take a break for
Yeah.
like once in a while. You will be able to recharge yourself.
Being a
and-
little easier on ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much, both of you. It's been very lovely having you and very lovely talking about a whole range of things. And I hope you've enjoyed yourselves.
Yeah,
I
thank you,
loved
Nivedita.
it being
This
here,
was-
and it's such an honor,
Yeah.
And it was wonderful to meet you, Yashita,
Yeah,
as well.
likewise, Megha. I think I had a great time. This was my first experience, but it was amazing. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Nivedita, for giving me this chance. Yeah.
You're
Thank
most
you.
welcome. Thank you.